What if robots took over our world and started replacing humans in their jobs? This has been the end of the world story in too many dystopian movies to count. Well, what if I tell you that this same story wouldn't necessarily signal the world's end? What if I tell you that this story is what might allow us to evolve as humans? And what if I tell you that this story is no longer a fantasy, but a reality that has already started to happen? Welcome to today's video, where we will be explaining the concept that will help launch Web 3.0 and allow us to live in a decentralized world. If you follow any crypto projects and are as excited as we are about the next version of the web that will change our world, then you must have heard of DAO. Listen up, as we will help you understand in detail and in simple terms what a DAO is and go over how it works. We will leave you a little more illuminated about the crucial part of decentralization that we are heading towards. And so, without further ado, let's get right into it. Any large corporation like Amazon, Walmart, Apple, Google, or Netflix has a CEO and some shareholders. When there is any decision that the corporation needs to make, the shareholders and the CEO set a board meeting where everyone gathers around, discusses the decision at hand, and eventually the decision is made after the board members take a vote on the matter. The next step is that the CEO of that company will make sure that those decisions are actually followed through using the chain of command of the company. Well, a DAO works just like that, but with some slight differences. First, a DAO, DAO, stands for a Decentralized Autonomous Organization, and it is a community-led entity that has no central authority. DAO is fully autonomous and transparent. So what does this exactly mean? Well, a DAO is just like those companies mentioned earlier, but instead of shareholders that make the decisions in such companies, a DAO is governed entirely by its individual members. And those members are the ones who make critical decisions about the future of that company collectively. And instead of the CEO of the company, there will be a robot. And instead of the people that the CEO would make sure to execute those roles, there will also be robots. Let us explain a little further. What we mean by the robot in this case is the code of the platform of the DAO, and technically a code that performs actions instead of human beings is considered to be a robot. So what is this code? Well, this code is known as a smart contract, and smart contracts are the series of written codes that lay the foundational rules and execute the agreed-upon decisions, and therefore it would replace the CEO as well as everyone in the chain of command that would execute the decisions made. And so, what technically happens is that someone who wants to create a DAO creates a smart contract first, into which the foundational rules of the project are stated, and the code of the smart contract will operate in terms of those rules. The community members that govern the DAO would get together and create proposals about the future operations of the protocol and then vote on each of those proposals. The proposals that achieve some predefined level of consensus are then accepted and enforced by the rules that are originally written within the smart contract. Such proposals can include technical upgrades, treasury allocations, or even an audit to be made on the very code itself. This way, every individual member of the DAO oversees the protocol at some level instead of having a handful of people at the top making the decisions for everyone else. The DAO framework ultimately ensures community collaboration in a decentralized environment. In the world of crypto, a DAO would usually launch with a few million tokens, and every one of those tokens is considered to be a vote. So as many tokens as a member would have is as many votes he would be able to get. And this framework is what gives the token its price, as well as giving it a function, allowing the DAO to improve, evolve, and make changes. Now, part of the elegance of this framework is that it is in every member's best interest to only approve the proposals that he deems would serve the best interest of the protocol. And this is because when this protocol is healthy and robust, it will have more usage, which would in turn increase the value of the tokens. And since every DAO member is in possession of a number of those tokens, the token holders will gain more profit as long as the protocol succeeds. And now, let us go over how a DAO comes into life. Well, the first things that are set are the rules of the DAO, and those are established by a core team of community members through the use of smart contracts. And as discussed earlier, these smart contracts lay out the foundational framework by which the DAO is to operate. The smart contracts are highly visible, verifiable, and publicly auditable, so any potential member can fully understand how the protocol is functioning at every step of the way. Now, once these rules are formally written onto the blockchain, the next step is around funding. The DAO needs to figure out how to receive funding and how to bestow governance. And this is typically achieved through token issuance, by which the protocol sells tokens to raise funds and fill the DAO treasury. In return for their fiat, token holders are given certain voting rights according to how many tokens they are holding. And once the funding is completed, the DAO is ready for deployment. At this point, once the code is pushed into production, it can no longer be changed by any other means other than a consensus reached through member voting. That is, no special authority can modify the rules of the DAO, not even the developers who created the DAO in the first place. Everything from that point forward is entirely up to the community of token holders to decide. And not having a special authority, like a CEO or a manager, to make decisions for everyone else is one of the top benefits of a DAO. No one has to be the boss of you any longer, and no one has to decide for you when you are a member of the community. You get to take part of those decisions along with everyone else. And no matter what happens to the funding or if any of the members decide to leave, the code will keep working. Another major benefit of a DAO is that the CIA can't burst in and shut the place down. They can't come in and demand neither from you nor from anyone else from the community anything. And it isn't only the CIA, but any government in the world has to go through the same process to have any say in the DAO. The only way they would be able to intervene is to actually own a large amount of tokens of the DAO project. They then have to submit a proposal to be voted on by the other token holders and members of the DAO. So, no matter who you are or what your status is within the world, you can't skip the line and bend the rules. Additionally, DAO is an open source code, and this means that anyone who wishes to can take a look at or even improve upon it. Open source projects are usually much more reliable because any programmer can help the main developers find bugs in their code and help them by proposing ways to fix them. With so many benefits, one can't imagine that a DAO has any downsides. But it actually does. The first of which lies at the very core of its open source, which anyone can look at, including attackers, making a DAO vulnerable to attacks. If someone has ill intent, they can reverse the code, test if it works, and then deploy it. Another downside is that there are no secrets in a DAO. And this means that any decision they might consider that would be profitable to them in the long run because it is unique is easily exposed to everyone else. This makes the idea lose its uniqueness and thus costing the project the upper hand in creating something that would make a lot of profit because anyone might just execute whatever idea is proposed before the DAO project does. So now that we know how those robots are conquering the world, have they started yet? Well, they did, as there are real-life examples of DAO. For instance, there is Olympus. And Olympus, DAO's decentralized reserve OHM currency, is intended to wean crypto markets off their unhealthy addiction to US dollars. The point of OHM is to act as a store of value, not pegged to the $1 mark as are USDT, USDC, and others. You can learn more about Olympus DAO by clicking the I button on the top right of your screen. And there is also the DAO. Now, this project has shown us all one of the biggest downsides of the DAO, as it was hacked back in 2016, and we've witnessed the thief walk away with $50 million. The victims whose money has been stolen are the token holders within the DAO who had previously poured more than $150 million of Ether into the project. Many people are still skeptical about DAO, specifically when it comes to its downsides that can put every participant at a certain risk. Yet other people feel that this risk is part of investment, especially in high volatile markets such as the cryptocurrencies, and are really rooting for DAO projects because of the autonomy and governance that they offer, benefiting the community instead of the handful of people on top. But we'd love to hear what you think about the idea behind DAO, and even though it still has some shortcomings, do you think we will see some more improvement on DAO anytime in the future? And do you believe that it makes a big part of the decentralized future we are looking forward to with Web 3.0? Share with us your thoughts below, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, click that button to keep receiving videos with similar content like this one. We will be seeing you in the next video.